Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to go over what not to do in Portugal. Whether you're going to move there, visit there, I don't know, even talk about there, here are some things that you really don't want to do. Okay, the first one, I actually did this and let's just say I got told what's what. Do not compare Portugal to Spain. They're not the same. They don't do things the same way. And another thing is Portugal or Portuguese people do not speak Spanish. Yes, it is similar, but it's not the same. And I'm worried for you if you go over there and say that you're speaking Portuguese and you're speaking Spanish. They're gonna let you know. They're not shy. So again, Portugal is not Spain and Spain is not Portugal, and Portuguese speak Portuguese and Spain or Spanish speak Spanish. There, now you know. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, this one would be really good to know if you're going to go visit there or move there, is don't go anywhere in Portugal without cash. Not dollars, euros. So if you are an American and you have dollars, you're going to need to not transfer them. You need to exchange them for euros, but don't go anywhere without euros because a lot of stores and restaurants they'll accept cards, but they'll make you pay a fee to use your card. And it's also considered rude to use your card for a tiny amount of money or to use really big bills for a tiny amount of money. Because things are really cheap in Portugal. So you might go to a restaurant and only have to pay $12 and paying with a $100 euro bill. I think I said that right. 100 euro bill. I said dollar, didn't I? Sorry, I'm getting used to it still. But if you pay with bigger bills for smaller amounts, it's kind of looked at as rude. And using your card is only going to be worse for you because you're also going to have to pay a fee. Okay, so this next one shocked me when I went there. Even listening to Ivo talk about things about Portugal and when he's going to work and what he's going to do, they have a lot of holidays. Not all of them means that you don't work, but they definitely have the normal holidays like Christmas and Easter and everything. And then they have a lot of saints days. They are Catholic over there, so they celebrate saints or they worship saints. And so they'll have their holiday is Saints Day, more than one. They'll have a holiday or a day for each saint. And then on top of that, they have different ones than the US. So the Carnival, which I think is a Brazilian holiday, but Portugal celebrates it too. And then they have multiple Independence Days, and they just have a lot of holidays. So be aware that if you go to Portugal and visit, you'll probably end up staying for a holiday somehow, somewhere. So cool. I don't know all the holidays off the top of my head, but let's just say I think I went there for a month and I experienced 3 or 4 of them. By experience, I mean I was just there. We didn't get to do any kind of fun things for them because Eva always ends up working on those days and I just stayed home. But yeah, so they do celebrate, they'll have festivals in the streets, or I don't know what else they do. Sometimes they decorate churches or roads, have food trucks and stuff. So if you're able to go celebrate them, go ahead and check it out. Okay, another thing you don't want to forget when you're in Portugal. It's a little more important in Portugal than it is in the US because we also do this in the US, but don't forget to give up your spot for elderly or pregnant women. And I think even women with small children, you're supposed to give up your spot in line. You're supposed to give up your seat. You're supposed to give them priority for whatever they need. And it's a little bit more, what would you say, more enforced in Portugal. Where here in the US, we have like parking spots for them, and we have like, you're really kind if you let them up in front in the line at the grocery store or wherever. But it's not like a have to or whatever. So yeah, if you're in Portugal and a pregnant lady kind of like goes ahead of you, or an elderly person goes ahead of you, that's normal. You just let them. That's what they're doing. They're taking their priority to go and get their groceries first, or whatever it is. It could be anything. In line for food, in line for anything. So yeah, don't forget that. Okay, another one, if you're visiting Portugal or moving to Portugal and you're going to make dinner plans, or just even spur of the moment plans where you're like, oh, let's go for a walk and find a place to eat dinner. Just remember, they eat really late. So sometimes restaurants do not open until 7 p.m. And so like maybe you can't even make a reservation until that time. They will look like they're closed for the night, but they're not. They're just going to open really late. And another thing about restaurants is sometimes they look really run down, like kind of like, I don't want to say sketchy because that's kind of mean. I don't want to say that. But like they look just not very upkept. They're not really bougie or posh or anything. They're just kind of normal or like a little run down looking. And don't be afraid to go to those ones because they'll probably have the better food, because restaurants that are a little bit more run down probably focus more on their food and how it tastes than the restaurants that are like really high end and care more about the atmosphere. But it's up to you on where you want to go and what kind of experience you want. So I'm just saying, don't get freaked out if there's a restaurant that kind of looks a little run down and you're like, oh, should we go there? You'll probably experience some really amazing food if you go to those restaurants. Okay, this last one is, don't be afraid of people in Portugal. Be afraid of cars. Safety wise, I get a lot of questions, and a lot of people were worried about me when I went over to Portugal. And I didn't feel like it was unsafe. I mean, I don't really want to go places by myself because I don't know the language, and I don't know, it does feel kind of awkward if you don't know what's going on. But there was no like really scary people that I walked by or saw. And so I would say don't be afraid of the people. But the driving, holy man, pray for anyone who's trying to walk or go for a run or do anything just like by foot, because those cars will whip by you. They will not give you room. Like, well, first of all, they don't have that many sidewalks in Portugal. But like if you're walking on the road, their mirror will be like inches from you, their mirror on their car. It's kind of scary, and you have to get out of the way. Like the person walking gets out of the way. Here in the US, it's more like the person walking is the right of way. So like you have to wait for them. You try to give them space. It's all like catered towards the person that's on foot. Where in the Portugal, they don't care. You move out of the way for them. They'll swear at you. They'll yell at you if you're not doing what you should or not getting out of the way fast enough. And let me tell you, the roads there are like twists and turns like a roller coaster. You'll get sick real fast if you're not used to that, which was me. I got sick on those roads. And that's why it's also kind of scary to like learn how to drive there. But anyways, back to safety. People seem really safe unless they're driving. Watch out. Okay, so the next thing you do not want to do in Portugal, especially if you're not like really into the sport of what Americans call soccer, what they call football, like just don't bring that up. If you're trying to start a fight or trying to be funny with some kind of comment about football, don't. You're gonna cause some really, really bad, angry situations. Like it's kind of like American football, but I feel like they're even more passionate over there about football, about their team, their, district. I don't know. I'm not sure about it, but I just know to not bring it up and to not make fun of it or anything, because it is a big deal to some, mainly men over there. And they'll get really, really heated about it. So if you're a tourist or you're moving there, either really educate yourself on what you're saying about football and talk to people that, I don't know, doesn't get too passionate about it. Other than that, just don't say anything. Just don't. I'm just trying to help you out. Just don't say anything about football. Another thing for tourists and people who are moving to Portugal is if you do not like smoking, like the cigarette smoking, that's going to be a culture shock for you. But also don't sit outside at restaurants. I know it's so much nicer to sit outside and it's so beautiful and you want to experience just like the landscapes and all that. But the outside spots are like where people go and smoke, because I don't know how many years ago, but they did make it illegal to smoke inside, which is thankful, because at least you can go inside and not have to like feel like you're suffocating. But outside, you do have to realize like that's where they're going to smoke. And so if you don't like it or you have sensitivity to it, I would probably tell you to sit inside and eat inside, and avoid eating on the outer patios if you can. And another thing to not do, this is probably for more like the Minnesota Midwest people if you ever go to Portugal, because we'll drive down the road and wave at anyone. We'll go for walks and wave at anyone that we see. We might not know them, might have never seen them in our lives. They might not even live in the town that we're in, but we'll wave. Don't do that in Portugal. Don't wave. Unless you know the person, obviously. They don't wave at each other. It's very awkward if you do it, or they'll look at you kind of funny. But they do greet each other. Like they say something. When you're walking by, they say bom dia or boa tarde. And I don't really think it's to people that they know. I think it's all I'm not sure. I think it's just to anyone that says it. And I guess women are expected to say it first if you're walking by. Like, say I'm walking by a man. If I don't say it, he's not going to say it. But if I say it, it's respectful for him to say it. Is what I kind of like heard when I was there. But if you walk by someone and say it's me and Evo walking by this lady who is bringing her groceries home, and she says bon dia and Evo says bon dia, if I don't say it, it's rude. Like really rude. And so Evo has to say it and I have to say it. Even though I don't know that woman, probably will never see her again or anything, like you have to say it. So it's just funny because I'm so used to waving at people, but I'm not used to saying like, oh, hi, good morning or good afternoon to random people. But I'll be okay with waving at people. We're in Portugal, flip-flop. It's weird to wave at people, but you should definitely say good morning or good afternoon.